Welcome everybody to this webinar of Assistance PSA 2015. This is a preview on the PSA 2015 version that's coming out in December. And for all our early adopters, you can already download PSA R2.1. It's basically a pre-release of PSA 2015 that will be launched by tomorrow. So for today, I'd like to show you the new features of PSA 2015. And again, if you want to have a preview by tomorrow, if you go to the website, and if you are an early adopter, you'll get a notification where you can find the file to download it to test out the PSA 2015 preview called R2.1. For today, I'd like to give you a short update on where we are with Assistance software. At this moment we are at 200 plus premium partners in more than 20 countries worldwide. We sold 6,500 PSA clients and users, and we are still moving very fast with PSA. One of the things that I'm very excited about is that a big engineering firm, one of the biggest engineering firms in the world, chose PSA Assistance PSA for CRM 2015. It's called Fucro, and it's a very big engineering firm in more than 40 plus countries, and they will deploy PSA in the upcoming 3 years for 12,000 users. So PSA is still growing very, very fast, and of course PSA 2015 is completely tailored and developed for CRM 2015. This being said, that doesn't mean that you cannot install PSA 2015 on the CRM 2013 deployment. That's also an option. The mission of our company, as you know, is creating state-of-the-art and innovative solutions to increase efficiency and productivity, especially for the professional service industry. When we look at the PSA suite, we have PSA, we have financials, we have the portal and HR. In the upcoming months, especially also in 2015, we will have different workshops, different webinars on PSA financials and on the portal and on HR. But for now, we will focus on PSA 2015. When we look at the roadmap, this quarter, that will be December, we will launch PSA 2015. And again, if you want to download the preview R2.1, then you can download it tomorrow. PSA 2015 is really packed with new functionality and new developments. We have completely phased out all the Silverlight components in PSA 2015, and that means that everything is now developed in JavaScript, and also HTML5. In the first quarter of next year, in 2015, we will have a service release for PSA 2015 with some extra features. I will tell you about those features in a moment. And then a second service release in the second quarter of 2015 for PSA 2015. And then we are working, of course, in the first quarter and the second quarter on the roadmap for PSA 2016. One of the things that you see is that we will develop a flavor called equipment, and with that equipment flavor, that is an add-on on the standard PSA solution, you can add equipment to your project, and you can also do equipment entry and time entry in one sheet, and we call that the resource utilization sheet. And that flavor will be available in the first quarter of next year, and more news about that in the first quarter of next year. Joining me for this as a panelist is Mehmet, one of our account managers and partner account managers. And so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the question box, and my colleague will answer them as soon as possible. So the whole objective for the PSA solution 2015 is basically building a solution, of course, completely seamlessly and compatible with CRM 2015, and all the Silverlight components are phased out and replaced by HTML5. That means that we will see that you have a faster time entry, faster utilization sheet, so all those components are faster. It's also not only faster, but also increased in functionality, as well as multi-platform. That means that you can run a lot of those PSA components also on an Apple or on an iPad, for example, and of course multi-browser. It works great with Chrome or Safari or with Firefox as well. So not only with Internet Explorer. So also on your Surface or on your iPad or any other tablet, you can run your time entry or your expense entry or your Gantt chart. All those great components are available on all those different devices. So what is the lineup for PSA? Basically, we have redeveloped the Gantt chart, completely developed in HTML5, more drag and drop functionality there. People that are familiar with R1 can already had a view on that functionality. You can also now add multiple hour types to one activity, and you can also have a color indication in the Gantt chart. In the utilization sheet, we see that you can have multiple filtering options. You can filter on department, but also on region. You can connect now employees to a region, but also projects to a region. So you can basically, based on the region, do your scheduling and planning of your resources. Multiple drag and drop functionality, so you can select multiple project item activities and drag them to one resource. And then in the timesheets, we have developed, of course, that also in HTML5. And now you can start a timer from a case, from an account, from a contact, and from a project. So that's really a new feature in PSA, that you have the timer not only isolated in the timesheet, but also as a separate solution that you can start from any entity that is relevant for PSA. And we have the timesheet by line developed and redeveloped in HTML5. And everything is also auto-responsive. So that means if you are running your timesheet on a smaller screen or on another device with other dimensions, then automatically the timesheet by line or the timer or the timesheet by calendar will resize with the device and with the screen size of your device. So the timesheet by line is something that's completely redeveloped. Timesheet calendar with basically the lookalike of Outlook is redeveloped, and also the expense entry module is redeveloped. And then what we also have in PSA 2015 is the sales forecast developed in HTML5, and this is a part of my this is a part that I will not show you today, but it will be shown in the webinars of December and January when we are launching PSA 2015. So some version details for everybody here. All the Silverlight components are phased out. We have now timer functionality that I'm really excited about. And the timer functionality is not only that you can start a timer, but you can also create an instant time entry. I will show you how that works. We have increased Gantt chart functionality. So you have the Gantt chart now in HTML5 with increased functionality. I will give you some feel about how that works. And of course the timesheet by line, timesheet calendar, expense entry, utilization sheet with really an increased functionality on regions and hour types, but also basically on the back end of the utilization sheet, we're working with project item days. And that means in a future version, the first service update of PSA, we will also can show you basically next to the scheduled time, we can show you the actual time, and then you can do a comparison with basically actuals versus scheduled and planned time. You will find a really increased performance, and general increase of performance, and everything is multi-platform and multi-browser. Another thing what you see here also is that we have scheduled a service release for the first quarter of next year, where we can find then the equipment flavor, and we have a service release, a second service release for the second quarter of 2015, where we have some advanced financial updates for intercompany invoicing, retainer invoicing, and daily allowances. So let's go now to the demo, and then we will, of course, answer questions as we go along. I need to do one thing here, so just give me 10 seconds, 1 second. I see that we have some questions coming in. So before I start with my demo, I just want to go through those questions. So there's a question from Patrick. Hi, I'm working on a data migration from OpenAir to PSA. That's good news. That's very good news. What entity should the timesheet be imported to? The entity, Patrick, is hours. So you import your thing, your time entries to the entity hours. Then we have a question from Janina. As I noticed that there are two entities for timesheet calendar, timesheet liner. Do you have to import to both tables? No, Janina, you don't have two entities for time. The entity is hours. You have only different user interfaces to enter time, Janina. So just let me know, Patrick and Janina, if this is answered for you. So then I'm deleting the question now. And then a question from Robert, will you be able to customize the sales forecast and utilization sheets? If you're talking about user interface, the answer is no, you cannot modify that code. So let's start. I will do a short break if I see some more questions popping up, but let's start now with the overall demo. First of all, one of the solutions that we are launching tomorrow is the dashboard solution, and that will give you basically 4 nice dashboards. The employee control dashboard, the project control dashboard, the business unit manager control dashboard, the invoice control dashboard, and the admin control dashboard. So it's actually 5 dashboards, not 4. As you can see here in the employee control dashboard, I will see then all the revenue I created for the business, my hours times selling rate. I see that in this case per month here at the left side, but also per project. You see the hours that I've booked. We see the cost amount, the hours by hour type. So we see a difference between my daily time entry, my hourly time entry, and also if I had internal hours, and my vacation balance. So this is really a dashboard created for the employee. The dashboard solution is of course free of charge, that you can just install on top of your existing PSA solution working starting from PSA 2013. And then we have a project control dashboard that will show basically a project manager how his projects or her projects are doing. So here we see, for example, this project is going into the red zone. That means that we see that we have spent 120%. So that gives you an idea which project needs more attention as a project manager. We see also the hours that I need to approve and the revenue that is attached to those hours. So basically this is all my WIP that I still need to approve. Here we see also the hours in detail, and we see the expenses that I need to approve, and this is just a list of my active projects. So this is really a nice dashboard for the project manager. And then we have a business unit manager dashboard that will show basically everything that needs to be approved from an admin standpoint. And we have also an invoice control dashboard that will show the invoice approver what invoices need to be approved. In this case, I don't have anything to approve. And then we have an admin control dashboard that will show basically all the hours that needs to be approved by the PMs, all the hours that needs to be approved by and the expenses and all the other things that you want as an admin want to control. And everything that we see here is everything, all the invoices that are still waiting to be approved by different approvers. So this is really from an admin control standpoint. This is, of course, you can create your own dashboards and change everything, but this is just to give you an out-of-the-box experience with basically role-based dashboards and tailored for the PSA solution, of course. So this is a solution that you can install and download on top of PSA. And then another thing that I will not show really in the demo, but we have some improvements in the batch invoicing. That means if you start batch invoicing, you have more filtering options by legal entity, by PM, by supervisor, by project manager, and so on. And you will find a general thing, but that's really a plug-in story. In PSA, the totals on item, on project item activity, and also the totals on program were basically updated synchron. That means that directly after you create and you do time entries, all those totals will be updated. In this new version of PSA, it's asynchronous. That means that it can have some delay, maybe a minute or two, depending on how fast your server is. But the advantage is that your time entries will be faster. So the totals will be updated a little bit later in the database, but then your time entry is faster, and also that improved performance is an advantage, but also you have no risk of having an SQL deadlock. That means that basically people working on the same record and doing the same time entry on the same data at the same time could have theoretically that deadlock issue, and that will be solved with this asynchronized updates. So that's just an update that we have done in the PSA 2015 solution to have a better performance in general on your timesheets. Now, when we go to a project, you will see that the navigation is a little bit changed. If I open a project here, in this case, let's open this project, Executive Coaching. You will see the form, if you just look at the general form, is more clean, basically less different options here. So we have just details, we have actuals here, hours and expenses, invoices, and the budget, and that's it. The Gantt chart you cannot find here anymore, and also your invoice installments are not a part of this anymore. And you find that here directly here in the navigation. So if you want to go to the Gantt chart, you just go to the navigation, directly go here to the Gantt chart, and then here we find the new HTML5 Gantt chart that we see here. With this little button I can zoom to fit. I find here all my activities for this specific Gantt chart. Of course, I can collapse everything like this. I can extend it again like this. We have drag and drop functionality. As you can see, if activities are attached to each other, they just, if I move this one forward, the rest will move forward as well. And you can also, and that's a really nice feature, you can also say, okay, this activity needs to start after this activity with the drag and drop feature. And then, as you can see, you can create a predecessor and a successor directly visually with your mouse with dragging and dropping. So that's really great. And then, of course, you hit save to commit your changes to the database. So this is the new Gantt chart. If I'm now updating, for example, from this Gantt chart my project, my budget of my project, I can just here go to actions and then here update. In this case, my budget, for example, and my forecast. So update all in this case, and then everything will be updated at this moment. And of course, the budget lines that were already in PSA will be overwritten at this moment. So this is something that's as you can see, that's a different way of navigating here. Back to my main screen. If we look at the project again, I'm just gonna search for another project in this case. So here I'm looking at, for example, PSA 2015. That was one of the projects I was preparing for this webinar. And I look at this project, you see there is a new setting here, and that's called restriction setting. So here we see that we have here the restriction setting on a project now, and that restriction setting basically prevents users to book time, post time against activities that are not scheduled on. So if you have this restriction setting on, people can only post time against activities that they are basically scheduled on. So in this case, when I look at this project, you see in the Gantt chart, you see here in the Gantt chart, and let's see if I can erase my drawing here. You see here in the Gantt chart, you see that I'm connected to the scope session and to the key user pilot. It means when we look at the timesheet in a couple of minutes from now, you will see that I cannot book time against the scope report because I'm not scheduled on that specific activity. Of course, this works only, this restriction works only if you basically select here booking restriction and you put it on. So that's one of the new things here that you can find on the project form. Another thing that you can find here on the project form is the region. Here, the region. You can basically now set up regions, and you can then set up main regions, sub-regions, sub-sub-regions. It's a tree and goes up till 5 levels. And then you can connect the project to a specific region. But you can also basically connect a resource, a user, an employee to a specific region, and that you will see that in the utilization sheet. So you can find that here as well. What's also new here on the project form is the timer. So directly here on the project, I can start a timer. So I can select my project. I can select a specific item, in this case diagnostic. Here you see I can only book time against the activity that I'm connected to. So that third activity, we don't see that here. So let's say I'm working on the key user pilot and I'm doing some prep work. and then I can start the timer, and now the timer is running. You can start the timer directly from the project, but you can also start the timer from an account or from a case if you do, for example, case management. So if you use case management in standard CRM, you can then also use the timer. So when I go to the services module here, and I'm, for example, creating a case, this is all standard functionality. And there's a problem with Outlook will not start. I just created that case. And then what we see here on the case, and that's new functionality as well, is that we see that you can now select on a case, you can here select a project on a case. So in this specific scenario, I've selected a project, PSA Suite 2015 webinar. I selected this project, so now when I start the timer, I see that everything is pre-auto-filled, basically my project, my item, my case, and now I directly can start the timer, and now the timer is running. And you can see you can start multiple timers at the same time. You can just leave the timer, you can just close the window, and still the timer is running for my project PSA 2015, and now also there's a timer running at the same time for my Outlook client. Let's say I want to delete that timer, I just hit delete, and that other timer is still running, and I can leave it running. That's not a problem at all. You can find the timer to finalize that chapter of my demo. You can find the timer in not only the PSA components, but also the standard CRM components. So when you go, for example, to an account, and let's say you're calling Assistance Software Productions, and you think I need to time that, or you want to start the timer from an account, then directly here you find also in the command bar you can find the timer as well. So start timer, you can find the timer here as well, and then of course you see only the projects where this company is connected to. So I see in this case only Assistance Software project from Assistance Software Productions, and again here you can start the timer. But another thing what you can do, you can also instantly create an hour booking. So instead of basically here instantly you can create an hour booking. So you don't have to start the timer. So you can also say, okay, on diagnostic I did a report, and that report is what's called a proof of concept report, and I want to book 2 hours as a consultant, create booking, that's it, that's all, time entry done. So instantly you can create time entries, and the timer, by the way, is still running in the background again. So now I did create directly instantly in time entry, and when I now go to the project and I go to my to the project that I just selected, PSA Suite here, webinar, then we can find the time, of course, directly there. So you can find the timer on the project, on the case, on the account, and on the contact. That are the different entities where we attach the timer to. And again, you don't have to start the time. You can also create an instant hour booking here with Create Hour Booking without going to your timesheet. So that's really nice. From a navigational standpoint, if you go to the Gantt chart, and from the Gantt chart you are interested directly in the budget, then directly here you can directly, of course, go to budget instead of going through the form. So here I can directly go to budget. And then I see the budget that is generated here from the Gantt chart in this case. If we have some active budget lines in this case, I don't have anything, but we can see that here. So that works very well. Let's go to my project PSA 2015. Here we have my project deployment, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm the project manager and the supervisor here. So we are able to approve those hours as well. So in the project form, a couple of things changed. We have the region, we have the booking restriction, and we have here the timer functionality. Now this is maybe a nice moment to see if there are some questions, and I see there are some questions coming in. A question from Janina. Is there any documentation to assist with mapping? There is some documentation. Janina, please contact your partner account manager or contact support to help you with this question. I cannot help you during this webinar with this question, unfortunately. Then there is a question from Lisa Sorovic. I hope I pronounce your name well, Lisa. We have customized our project form in the old version, new fields, and arranged the structure. If we download the new version, Will we lose the changes? No, absolutely not, Lisa. You will not lose the changes. So if you did it in general, in the form general, then you will just see the new fields that we have created, and you will preserve your own customizations in that form general. If you have created a complete different form, then you need to make sure that you will look at general, because there you find our fields, and then at your fields, at the new fields of PSA, maybe on your customized form. But normally if you do the customizations just in the form general, you will keep your customizations and you will be basically updated to the new version without any problem. And then we have a question from Cloud Rose. Restriction, does this mean that we cannot book time to a project without choosing an activity, making sure all the time entries are applied to an activity? No, it's not mandatory to select an activity, but if you select an activity with the restriction setting, you will basically can only select the activities that are attached to your name. On the roadmap, there will be a second restriction setting. There will also be more restriction levels, and that will be part of the service update cloud. And then there is a question from Ulrich Carlson. Can the timer function be added to custom entities? I think theoretically that's possible, but not out of the box, Ulrich. What is also good to know is that all the functionalities that we developed in HTML5, including the timer, the timesheet by line, the timesheet calendar, the utilization sheet, can be started standalone. In the release notes that you can find on our website, you will find also the links to start those components standalone. So if you are not in CRM and you are on your iPad, for example, and you want to just have the timer there, you just need to put that link in your favorite. So that's how you can do it. So Ulrich, then maybe you can create a button with basically a link to that web resource. And then there's a question from Dominique. Does region get added to the financial transaction to use as a dimension for the ERP? It's a very good question, Dominique. At this moment, it's not connected to the financial transaction, but I think I'm going to directly make a note of that to make sure that we will do that. So so that's a very good comment. So thank you for that. So I will create an RFC for that, so we can put it in the PSA financials in the financial transaction. Thank you for your response. Let's start with and continue with the demo. So one of the things that we have changed is, of course, the timesheet functionality. So let's have a look at that. So here we have two timesheets again: timesheet calendar, timesheet line. I want to start with the timesheet line in this case. And one of the things that you see in the timesheet line, this is fully HTML5. If, for example, we have another resolution, you will see it's completely auto-responsive. So it resizes with your screen. So in this case, my screen is smaller, as you can see. So we will see Monday till Friday here in the columns, and of course everything is smaller then. But in this case, you see it's completely auto-responsive. If we have a bigger screen like I'm having now, of course, then we have more columns. In the PSA settings, you can set up if you like to see a project item activity and if you like to see account as a column. That are settings, that are new settings in PSA settings. If I want to add some hours here to, in this case, my PSA 2015 deployment, let's say on Thursday, I can just hit here 2 hours and then the hours are saved. You see that little red symbol, very short, a couple of seconds. That means basically that it's committing the hours to the database. You can now also book 2.1 or 5.5 in this case. You can book hours up till 2 decimals. Another thing what I like very much is that if there is a comment to a time entry, then you can click this little icon, and in this case we had a scope session with key user team, and if you have add a comment, then the icon will stay here on the cell, and if you hover over it, you see also the description. One of the things that's new is that you have location. This is typical something that we see in the States. If you work outside of your state, you have now an extra list box, and you can, of course, this entity can be filled by yourself. Let's say I'm based in New York, but I do something, in this case in Maine, then I can just indicate that I'm working in Maine for this specific time entry. And of course, in reporting, that can be important for all kind of sales tax purposes. So that's an extra field location. Also, that's a setting in PSA settings if you want to work with that specific field. Now, of course, you can skip through the weeks. In this version R2.1 that you can download tomorrow, we don't see copy week. That will be, of course, available in December in the 2015 release. We can have a full week, we can have a work week, and of course, we can also add expenses. To add expenses here, I can just hit plus. I select a project. I can, in this case, inherit the previous project, but I can also select another project. In this case, I'm just keeping this project. I'm putting here a name. So in this case, it was a parking expense, and it was $45. And now my expense is booked. As you can see, you can hit create expenses for different projects in the same window. Also, this is a separate component that can be started standalone. So if you want to have a web page and you want to use expenses on your web page for example, self-service employee web page, then you can just add this component to any web page. So here we have added expenses with just hitting here the expense button. One of the things that you see here, my project for Assistance Software Productions PSA deployment, I can see here only the activities that I'm attached to. So the key user pilot and the scope session, that has to do with the restriction setting. And for this project executive coaching, I did not put in any restriction setting, and then you see the activities from all the different resources. So that is what that restriction setting is doing, and project by project you have that setting. So you can restrict projects more or less depending on how restrictive you want to be. And the other timesheet that we have, of course, is the timesheet calendar. This will be in the future one UI, so one user interface, and you can then switch basically between the timesheet calendar and the timesheet line in the same UI. In this case, we see still two tiles. We debating on that still internally how we're going to do that. Here, of course, we have the drag and drop functionality. We can increase the number of hours or decrease the number of hours. So this works all the same as you are used in the other version, only this is HTML5, and everything is much, as you can see, much faster, especially the start. When I start this, it's much faster. So when I hit when I just start the timesheet by just hitting here the timesheet again, it loads really in a couple of seconds instead of waiting maybe 30 seconds. So that works much faster. We find here the Outlook retrieval. We need to set up some configuration files, how to configure the Outlook retrieval, so that will be documented. And the configuration is a little bit different than with Silverlight, so we are working on that document. And of course, I can also post my time to a time card. So post to time card is still there, and then we will find all the hours in the time card. Post to time card, you can find it in the timesheet by line, and you can find it in the timesheet calendar view. So in both views you will find it. In this case, we have 40 hours to book, 28 are booked, and I still need to book some hours here. So I'm just going to finalize here my time, 6, and here then on Friday I booked also 8 hours on this project. Now I'm ready. I'm going to post my time to a time card. Time card is successfully created. And of course, we can then find the time card here if you work with time cards, because that's not mandatory. The post to time card is also a setting, so you can work with time cards or not with time cards. That's really up to you. But in this case, I have a PM approval set up and an admin approval. That means if the project manager looks at his screen, he will find here basically the different projects where we need to approve hours, and here we see all the hours that we need to approve, and here we see basically all the projects that I'm attached to. And one of the projects is, of course, my PSA 2015 deployment project, this project. So directly from the dashboard you could open the project if you want. you can directly navigate here to the hours and then see what you need to approve from a PM perspective. So in this case, I'm selecting the view PM approval, and here we see the hours that are just booked. And of course, in this case, I can just select everything and then hit approve from a PM perspective. And then if this is approved, this view is empty. And now from an administrative approval, we see everything that I need to also approve from an admin perspective. And then I can also approve it here from an admin perspective. So that's how that works. All standard functionality that you are used to. Nothing new here. Then the utilization sheet. The utilization sheet is really leveraging the regional setting. And that means that when we go now to the utilization sheet, you will see it's also completely redesigned. The information is the same, but it starts much faster. We have multiple filtering options. We can filter or on business unit with team and users, or we can filter on legal entity with department and users. So this is basically a choice, and that's up to you. The business unit, team, and user is what we had in the previous version, and the legal entity is really a new filtering that you can apply. In this case, I want to see all my consultants, and I'm just retrieving my data now. Just hit retrieve data, and then here we see in a moment we see all the people that are in the consultancy department for this business unit demo test. Let's say I want to have everybody. I can just select all and then retrieve all for the business unit demo test. And then we see all the scheduled people for that specific business unit. Now you have options, of course, to drill down here. One of the things that you see here is hour type. That's new, and that's basically the default hour type of that resource. So people are connected to multiple hour types with the related hour type option, but this is basically the default hour type. So you see basically what their default hour type is. One of the things that you can also do, you can now have an extra filter. You can see I want to see everybody that can do business analyst, that has the business analyst hour type in their related hour types in that specific business unit. So those people can do business analyst work because they have that hour type related to them. So that's what you can see here as well. Or I want to see all my consultants, for example, in this case, and so retrieve all my consultants. What you also can do, you can retrieve by region. So let's say you want to see all your consultants in a specific region, and here you see the region table. That if you go to PSA settings, you will find the region table, and you can relate regions to each other. Let's say you want to see everybody that is connected to region East. Then I select here East, and then I see all my consultants in region East. And it's really up to you how you're gonna basically set up those regions. So there are now two resources that can do consultancy, that are in the business unit demo test, and that are in region East. Also what PSA is doing then, he will look at the queues and the projects that are connected to region East and that are in a queue. So here we see in this case for region East I need consultants, and we see here that I need consultants for the project SQL Server on Azure. You see that this project is attached to region East, and in this case we need somebody working on documentation, and now I can basically make a choice to attach this to one of the people in the region East. Let's say they are too busy, so I'm gonna put in some other regions in there. It's a multi-select, so you can put some other regions in there as well. And in this case, I'm going to select even some other regions here, and then I'm going to do next retrieval, and then we see basically that we have myself now also appearing because I belong to region Little Amsterdam. And now I can make a decision to connect this, for example, this activity direct to employee, to James, and then drop it there. Now with the utilization sheet, as we call it 2.0, but the utilization sheet in this HTML5 version, you have the option to basically multi-drag, so you can drag multiple activities to one resource. So here we see now that that James is now scheduled on working on documentation 4.4 hours a day, and that's how that works. So multiple filter options here. I can select also a specific legal entity within a specific department. I can also do a select on users here. What we will have in the service update, that you will have a scope setting. So basically on a PSA user you determine what the scope setting is, and then people can see only a specific region or their own legal entity or only themselves, for example. And also from a development standpoint, this is also developed in HTML5, is a separate component in a way, can be also started and basically executed as a standalone component. So the link is again in the documentation. So also this can be a favorite for a resource manager, but if you have that scope setting, then a resource can only look at his own basically scheduled activities. So let's say I have only access to my own scheduled activities and my scope setting is just I can see myself, then this will be pre-filled, pre-auto-filled, and I cannot change then the user anymore. And here we can then expand all, and that gives me an ID as a resource. Okay, this is what is expected that I'm working on those projects, working on documentation. I do the key user pilot, and here we see the different hours that are scheduled for myself. And the same if I only schedule my own business unit, I can see only my own business unit. So there will be some scope settings in the PSA 2015 version that will be available as a setting per user, what your scope is, and basically how wide your scope is. If you can see everybody, or see only your own legal entity, or only your own department, or only yourself. So then this can be a start screen also for any resource. So a lot of stuff happened in the utilization sheet, more filtering, region selection, hour type selection. We will working on a monthly view, so this is day by day, but this will be extended with month and quarter, so there will be more views in there in the future as well. And it's all redeveloped as HTML5. Nothing is calculated anymore. This is basically project item activity day. So as soon as you create what's more technical, a project item activity, then it creates automatically those project item activity days for you. For the 2015 version, you can expect a connection with Bing Maps. That means that you can see the location of the project and the location of the resources. So you see from a very visual standpoint how far or how close certain resources are with the project location. So that's also something that that will be available in the 2015 version. One of the things that we also worked on, and that's something I did not show you, but in the timesheet, for example, we have more and extended search functionalities. So if you can, for example, book not only on your own projects, but on all projects, then you can here type in anything you want. So let's say I'm typing in HTML5, and then it looks at the project name, the program name, and the account name. So the search is very, very powerful. You don't have to work with asterisks or whatever. So I can just type in here, I just want to see everything with PSA 2015, and then it searches directly there. So that is really very nice that it works like this. So, and also if you let's say you type in productions, then you see all the projects of Assistance Software Productions in this case. So the search is very powerful. That are small things, but that makes it easier to do your time entry, and that's also what we have done here. Of course, we find the report ready option still here. Now, post to time cards, that's a setting, as you know. So, and of course, we have some improvements in performance. Yeah, this is basically the end of this webinar. So let's see if we have some questions available, some questions coming in, and I have also some questions for you because I have a poll and I have a survey that I like to fire off. So I want to also work on that. But let's first focus on some questions. I see there are a couple of questions. I think 6 or 7 questions. So let's go to the questions and see if we can make it a little bit more interactive. On the PSA timesheet, will you be adding back the ability to enter time for other employees? Yes, absolutely, Robert. Very good questions. You don't see that in R2.1, but in the PSA 2015 version, you can have the option change user. So that's a great question, and very thoughtful of you that you saw that that option was not there anymore at this moment. So that will be in the December version of 2015. In R.2.1, this version that you can download tomorrow, this option is not available. Copy week, same story, Robert. So R2.1 is a preview of PSA 2015 for people that want to test already with it. The copy week is something we're working on, as well as the copy entry. So that's something you can expect as well. Then the same question was from Claude. I don't see change user. Don't worry, it's coming back. There's a feature change user. Apparently, that's a very well-known feature. It's used a lot. So, but that will be there as well. In the current version, where you change user, I cannot change user without refreshing the web page. Will this be fixed? Yeah, that's indeed an issue that we are looking at. That's also why it's not directly in here. But I expect that will be fixed, Dieter. So. We're working on that at this moment. Then there is a question, the little car, will it be back for travel expenses? Absolutely, absolutely. The little car will be back as well in the 2015 version. So you can expect that, Joost. Thank you for your question. Can a third level of approval be added? A question from Dominique, employee manager, not PM, on the project. So, yeah, at this moment, Dominique, it's please post an RFC, but it's not on the short-term roadmap. So at this moment, it's admin approval and PM approval. Then we have a question from Claude. When creating a timesheet entry, we can't make a search in all projects as we could do in Silverlight. Useful if you're not assigned to a project. Yeah, in this version you can also search for all projects. It's only not called all projects, so it works a little bit different. To show you how that works, basically when you go to the timesheet, doesn't matter which timesheet. So for example, in this timesheet, what you see here is basically your own project. So this is a short list. So these are maybe in this case 10 projects. But as soon as I search, I can search on all projects. So this search will always by default search on all projects if you have, of course, give the capability with PSA settings to search on all projects. So you don't have to switch to all projects anymore. If you type something in here, let's say ABC Finance, I will get all the projects from ABC Finance. So the search by default is searching in all projects. So I think that is an answer to your question, Claude. I hope it's an answer to your question. Then we have a question from Oliver. Is the color coding editable? No, Oliver, the color coding is not editable at this moment. We chose the colors by default for you. So blue is still in progress and green is approved. Then a question from Brian Delvia. Can you please comment on the color coding on the utilization sheet? Yeah, absolutely. There will be a legend in the final product, but in this case, basically the color coding will show if people are over or underutilized, Brian. So I'm just going to retrieve my my time here. Just let it retrieve from only my consultants. So basically, what you see is that if people work, let's say, normally 8 hours a day. If they are booked, in this case, for example, James Thomas 13 hours, then he booked more than 120%, then he's overutilized. If he is good utilized, then it will show green. If he is in a risk, so it's almost overutilized, it will show yellow, and gray is underutilized, and purple is basically medium utilized. But there will be a legend in the screen, Brian, so you will see the what the color means. Then a question from Sibren. Hi Martijn, will the group calendar be transferred as well to HTML5? No, we don't have plans for that, Sibren. I don't know if the group calendar is used by a lot of people, but at this moment our feedback we are getting from some users is that it's not really used by a lot of people. But at this, so there are no plans at this moment to transfer the group calendar to HTML5. I see that Nova R2, the expenses and mileage is no longer in the time entry pop-up window. Will the mileage be back? Yeah, the mileage will be back. So you can find that mileage button. That was also the question from somebody else. Will the car button will that appear? Is it now away? The answer is no. So the little car will come back. Will the webinar available for review later? Yes, I'm recording this, Dennis. Then a question from Frank. What is the timing for deposit being applied during batch invoicing? Currently, projects with deposit retainer must be invoiced individually. Yeah, that's the service update in Q1, Frank. So you can expect that retainer invoicing in the service update in Q1. I think it's here also in the roadmap. Sorry, service update 2. So in Q2. Frank, in Q2 it's scheduled. I see that now myself here. Retainer invoicing, that's what you mean. So you can find that functionality in basically the Q2 of 2015, Frank. Question from Dennis. Change user feature. Yeah, that is coming in 2015. Already answered that. And then a question from Daniel René Toul. Will you provide a demo system for the partner? Yeah, we have a test drive for the partner if you don't want to have your own demo system, but that's a public system, Daniel. So that means that it's a little bit risky to prepare your demos in there because other partners are also in that system. But if you go to a test drive, assistancesoftware.com/test drive, this version will be updated in test drive. So there you can find basically this version. So assistancesoftware.com/test drive. That's where you want to go. I just will add it also in your chat box so you can find the link. Test drive is not updated at this moment, but it will be updated soon at the end of this week. Yeah, if you have any other questions at this moment, guys, please don't hesitate to make it as interactive as possible. And here we are. It is interactive. You have considered a toggle for hours and revenue in the utilization sheet. No, we did not consider that, Robert, but that is definitely a nice suggestion. And in the utilization sheet, but on the other side, the utilization sheet is not really revenue, because if it's a fixed fee project, the hours that you are scheduling will not basically maybe be invoiced. So the revenue is basically generated in the sales forecast. So there will not be a toggle there because you will generate from the Gantt chart also the sales forecast, and there you will find your sales forecasted revenue. So Robert, if you show then the sales forecast your client, I think they will be very happy because there you'll find the revenue. So from the Gantt chart, update sales forecast and then show the sales forecast there. In the sales forecast, they are missing the project item. That's a setting. So if you go to PSA settings, you can set up that you want to have sales forecast by project item and not only by project. So, but please don't hesitate to send an email to your partner account manager to look into this in more detail. Then a question from Lisa Sorovic. Sorry, you may answer this already. I was called away. Blah, blah, blah. I've customized our project from will lose the customization new version. No, you will not lose your customization in new version if you put your customization in the general form. That's always basically one of the things that you need to do. So upgrading is not really a problem for you. So after all the answers I gave you, I have a little poll. So I want to ask you all to answer this. And in this case, the question is, do you like the Assistance PSA 2015 improvements? So 44% has voted. Please vote. That would be a great response for us. Our team is really working on this, looking ahead of basically waiting for this poll, what the feedback is, so I can share that with my team. So still 10 seconds, guys. Please vote all. We have 68% voted, so it would be great if everybody votes. Just one little simple click is enough. 68% has voted, and I will leave this a couple of seconds open. 5 seconds more. Guys, please vote all. It would be great if I know what your answer is. And I am now closing the poll. So I think that's a great result. 60% find it great and 31% find it a nice improvement. So that's a great score. So thank you so much for that response. And I have another question for you guys, and that's, will you install Assistance PSA 2015? So tomorrow we are launching R2.1. R2.1 is what you have just saw. So if you are fine with what you have seen, then install it in your test environment, and otherwise wait for December 8th. I think we're launching PSA 2015, and then you install it. You can install it, of course, always in test, go through everything, and then you can always install it in production. So the question is, will you install Assistance PSA 2015? So we're waiting for a couple of more votes. And now I think I see already a big yes, so that's great. So and I'm closing the poll in 10 seconds from now. So there we go. Almost, we're closing. 5 seconds left. And I'm thinking I'm closing it now. So thank you all for this great response as well. So 11% maybe, but almost 90% of 85% yes and 4% no. The people that voted no, I'm really curious why you would not install PSA 2015, maybe later. So if you can send us an email why, that would be great. If you don't install PSA 2015, we're always curious what we can do more to make everybody happy. And with all the changes in the Gantt chart, HTML5, and also in the utilization sheet, the question is now: will you use the Gantt chart and the utilization sheet with this new increased performance, HTML5, better filtering, better functionality, drag and drop? Because we have seen that people love the utilization sheet and the Gantt chart in Silverlight, but because of maybe some performance issues and stability here and there, it was not used that much. And we really hope with this new version that we worked on for so many months now that you will use it. So will you use the Gantt chart with the HTML5 and also the new utilization sheet? So I'm closing the poll in 10 seconds from now, so please vote all. Also, if you don't know, maybe you can just answer maybe or no. Or yes, yes would be great. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for being so interactive with us. Great. So we see the results. 80% almost 80% will say yes, I will use the utilization sheet in the Gantt chart, and 70% maybe, and 4% no. Now guys, thank you so much for this great interactive webinar. I really enjoyed it. After leaving this webinar, you will get a survey from us with some ratings on this webinar, how you rate this webinar. We try to improve our webinars, make it more interactive with those polls, with those questions, that we have some breaks here and there to answer your questions, and also repeating the questions. We hope that it helps as well. So thank you so much for all your feedback, all your response. We look forward to launch this version. If you want to give us some feedback, you can always go to psanova.com if you install R2.1, and we will basically publish a newsletter tomorrow with some landing pages, some links, a recording, and also the download link to this R2.1 version. So thank you so much. Have a great day, morning or evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.